Right, well, let's have a chat to motoring consumer champion Scott Dixon, who's with us today. So this is because Gloucester Quays, the multi-storey there are other car parks in the area. This is the multi-storey going cashless at some point before Christmas. Hi there, Scott. Good to talk to you again.
Hiya, Nikki.
Hello.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
More car parks going cashless. The owners say, basically, they must be confident enough that people will still park there. Do you find people are put off by cashless car parks, or are enough people happy to use them?
I think people are put off from using them, and I am personally. I won't use parking apps, and consumers need to be given a choice. And Gloucester City Council claim on their website that they're transforming your city. They certainly are, but not necessarily for the better, particularly for vulnerable, elderly and disabled people. Consumers need to be given a choice, and not everybody is familiar with this technology. And it's important to highlight that not all disabilities are visible. For example, dyslexia, it's a protected characteristic under the Equality Act 2010, and 1 in 10 has it, which is up to 6 million people. And another thing to consider is these QR codes are susceptible to fraud.
Yeah, this is interesting that they are going down the line of QR codes. We should point out the Quays car park isn't City Council owned, it's Gloucester Quays, their multi-storey car park rather than the City Council. But what they are saying is that, yes, you can use a QR code, which is, again, we were discussing there with David, there's so many methods to pay, and there seems to be a newer one, having a QR code.
Yeah, and it is susceptible to fraud because there are cases where fraudsters have put QR code stickers over legitimate parking QR codes to scam and empty people's bank accounts.
That's something I hadn't thought of, actually. I don't think about these things, but I'm glad you're here to tell us about them. I just hadn't considered that, and I haven't yet used a QR code, but have, grudgingly used the parking apps that David says he's not using. But why won't you use them? What's your reason for not using those?
Well, there's up to 30 different parking apps across the UK, and you haven't got the wherewithal to put them all on your phone, and there are data protection issues that David flagged as well, and I just don't like using them. Call me old-fashioned, but I prefer conventional payment methods, and consumers need to be given a choice. And another thing to think about is tourism. How are tourists meant to pay using these apps when they're using phones on foreign networks and they're not familiar with the technology? And also the signal issues to consider. There's a lot to think about, and I do think it's a short-sighted approach in going down this route.
Yeah, from the car park operators' point of view, that they obviously think enough people are going to be happy enough to use it. They don't think it's going to be detrimental on their business to make a decision like this. They say it's going to be easier and quicker, and maybe they think that it's actually better security-wise for their car park because they haven't got loads of cash sitting there in the car parking machine. So that's presumably their rationale for doing this.
Yeah, it probably is, but time will tell, and there are other car parks that people can use, and people will vote with their feet if they're not happy with it.
I don't know whether you've got experience of other car parks doing this and maybe changing back again. Has any car park operator ever decided to go back to having cash?
Not yet, but I think time will tell, and it will happen because consumers will vote with their feet, and they will make these different decisions, and it will particularly affect revenue at some point. Not everybody is going to be au fait with this and go down that route.
Yeah, and you mentioned a few groups of people there, and do you find people get in touch and say, well, I can't use this particular machine because of this?
Yeah, and people are voicing their concerns about this, and they're being hit with parking tickets because they've tried and failed to be able to use the different options available. And it's very difficult for certain categories of consumers to get their head around it, and they are being penalised, because when you enter into a car park, the automatic number plate recognition cameras, they capture the entry and exit, and they automatically generate parking tickets, and you need to be given a grace period to read the terms and conditions and things like that. And, not everybody can get their head around it. Yeah. And I think it's unfair. We need multi-channel approaches to cater for everybody.
It's certainly confusing, and it shouldn't be confusing to park your car and pay for it, really. But that's just so different, which is one thing I'm pointing out today. Thank you, Scott. Good to talk to you again. We'll chat to you again
thanks,
soon.
Nikki.
Thank you. Motoring consumer champion Scott Dixon there, and saying, well, no, I'm not going to get an app and put an app on my phone. I'm going to try and pay in cash. Have you ever had any trials and tribulations with parking your car? It should be so simple. Put the car in the space, go and pay for it, off you go. It shouldn't be something that's difficult, but these days it seems to be. And as I was pointing out earlier, I think the thing that confuses people the most and causes the longest queues is how to increase the time you want to park for. I know it should be simple. I know there's a button to do this, and for some people it's very obvious. I've seen many people confused by this and others having to explain to them how to do it. Your experiences, I would love to hear them of the various car parks that you've battled with to pay for your parking. You can get in touch at 0800 121 7575. You can also WhatsApp as well, 08000 321 333, starting your message with the word gloss.